What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Thursday night post game show here on the SA and YouTube channel. I am Mike Rifkin, and let me be brutally honest here. This will not be a long post game show because this game was just, it happened. That's how we're going to roll with it. It happened. The Denver Broncos go to 8-2 with a thrilling 10-7 win over their rival, the Las Vegas Raiders. And I gotta be brutally honest with you guys here. Like, this game was just, it was there. It just happened. There was not great. It was there. The Broncos go to 8-2, and they struggled mightily offensively. Put 10 points up on the Raiders. I mean, Bo Nix, 16-28, 150 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. J.K. Downs at 77 yards rushing on 18 carries. Pat Bryant, 1 catch, 43 yards. That's your leading receiver. Pat Bryant, 1 catch, 43 yards. For the Raiders, Geno Smith was not good again. 16-26, 143 yards, an interception. He's thrown the most in the league this year so far with 12. Tua's right there with him. Ashton Jeanty, 19 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett, 5 catches, 44 yards. If you want to story this game, it's the Raiders. The Raiders' self-destruction is what cost them this game. You know, let's talk about that. You know, they had a blocked punt, they had a missed field goal, they had a touchdown negated by a penalty. You know, it was just so many mistakes for the Raiders, and they're not good enough to overcome all these mistakes. 5 sacks in the first half given up. You know, it's just, you know, Geno got sacked 6 times, so they improved in the second half because they gave up 1 sack, but they turned the ball over and they do this, and they're just not, as a football team, it's not cohesive. You know, Geno throws a pick, their best player was AJ Cole because he had 2 punts inside the 5-yard line. He was their best player, him and Ashton Jeanty. Like, there's no reason in a game for Brock Bowers to have 1 catch. Brock Bowers should get 1 catch on 1 drive. And he had 1 catch the whole game. Credit Denver's defense. It's been a great all year, but I don't know what the Raiders' philosophy is long term. Geno's not the answer quarterback. I think we all know that. They're going to have to figure that one out, whether that's drafting a guy. Maybe it's Kyler Murray. Someone may have suggested that on the Wishbone Shotgun podcast. Get that wherever you get your podcast. That should be released hopefully tomorrow. But the Raiders, I don't get it. 2-7. And we thought, hey, maybe they could compete here in the AFC West. And lo and behold, 2-7. And I don't blame Pete Carroll at all for any of this. But Pete Carroll's got to think about another job. There has to be something better for him. Because this team is just, they're not good enough. And Max Crosby, he's got to be kicking himself about re-signing there. But the Raiders, Mark Davis, you can't put owners on the hot seat, but Mark Davis has to figure this thing out. Along with Tom Brady. Along with you and me. No. I mean, I just this is a team that lost by 1 point to the Jags on Sunday. They lose by 3 points today. This is a team that lost by a point to the Bears. And look at what they got going forward. They're going to have the bye week. I'm sorry, no. They'll play next Monday. They'll play against the Cowboys. Then they play Cleveland. Then they play the Chargers before they play the Broncos again. And I just mean, when does it end? The Geno experiment just isn't working. They traded away Jacoby Myers. I don't know the direction of the Raiders. They're going to have to figure that out long term. Denver's 8-2, but we got questions about Denver tonight. We got to ask it. Bo Nix, is he really the guy? I mean, he's had moments where he's been really good. Fourth quarter against the Giants comes to mind, but it's hard to ignore. He was not good again tonight. 16 of 28, buck 50, touchdown, 2 picks against a defense that hasn't been that great. And he was sacked a couple of times. And the other thing is this for me on Sean Payton, and I love Sean Payton. Too much trickeration in fanciness tonight. This should have just been a simplicity game for them. They ran the ball 27 times, 84 yards. I'm not even going to include the kneel downs, but they averaged 3 yards a carry. It's not great. J.K. Dobbins averaged 4.3. The other thing I'm looking at is these receivers. Pat Bryant was the leader, 1 for 43. Troy Franklin, 5 for 40. Cortland Sutton, 3 for 24. Evan Ingram, 2 for 12. I want my playmakers to be getting the ball. And I just felt tonight Cortland Sutton didn't get enough targets. Troy Franklin led the way with 9, I believe. I mean, okay. I just don't know where this offense is going, because they have moments where they're great against the Giants or that fourth quarter against the Philadelphia Eagles. And then they have nights like tonight where they looked like the team that played the Giants for the first 3 quarters, and they just couldn't do anything. And, if you look at their schedule, they've got a showdown next Sunday. They're welcoming the Chiefs. And, watching, the sport pundit people talk about that game, like, oh, Denver's going to win the West. Win this game, you're going to win the West. Excuse me. But I look at Denver and I go, they're a good team. They're a very good team. I'm not going to take that away from them. But I'm kind of in the mode of, well, who have they really beaten? Like if we look at the schedule and hold it up right now, they beat the Giants. Giants aren't any good. Beat the Raiders tonight. Beat the Titans. Lose to Indy. Lose to the Chargers. Beat the Bengals pretty good, but that was without Joe Burrow. And we see what they would do. Beat Philly. Beat the Jets. Beat the Cowboys. And beat the Texans, who played the bulk of that game without C.J. Stroud. So in reality, they've beaten Philly, and they were competitive with the Colts. And if they don't get called for the leverage penalty, they probably beat the Colts. But push that aside for a minute. I think my thing on Denver is we talk so much about these quarterbacks in the AFC. Lamar Jackson, Burrow, Herbert, Mahomes, Josh Allen. And then there's Bo Nix. And we don't want to put Bo Nix on that same path because he hasn't proven that yet. And he has moments where you go, okay, maybe Bo Nix could be a guy. And then he has games like tonight. And it's just like, well, I thought I saw it. Now I don't. And I think they need to figure out not what he's good at, because I think they know what he's good at. But I think Sean Payton's creativity gets in the way sometimes of what needs to be done right. And I feel that that's the big thing for me on Denver. This defense could stop anybody. Let me phrase it better. That defense will stop anybody. Even without Patrick Surtain, they're playing really well. But if you look at their next couple games, Kansas City, in Washington, right now that's looking like a win the way Washington's going. The Raiders again. Oh, they get a home game with the Packers. They play the Jaguars before they play the Chiefs again on Christmas night. And then they'll end the year against the Chargers. By the way, those two games, the Chiefs game and the Chargers game, that could be for the division. And if you want to win this division and guarantee yourself a home playoff game, Bo Nix has to be better. Sean Payton, who's won a Super Bowl, needs to be better. This is where we're at right now with Denver Broncos. You want to be considered one of the elite teams. You're 8-2 right now. And what I just read off, you could easily win 3 to 4 more games. I might even put you in the direction of 4 or 5 games. This defense will hold it for you. The offense is going to have to come along. Look back at that playoff game they played last year in Buffalo. That defense holds them in it for as long as they can. And the offense just doesn't do their part. That's what happens in that game. And I think going forward, what we're going to have to watch out for with Denver, it can't be fool me once, shame on you, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. They're going to have to prove it here going forward. Offensively. Scored 18 points on Sunday against Houston. That's a good defense. Scored 10 tonight against the Raiders. Remember, this is also a team that scored 13 against the Jets. So they know they have the defense. And it's kind of like when you have a really good pitcher in baseball. Hey, Ace, we got you 3 runs. You need to hold it. And the Ace either holds it or he doesn't. But for Denver going forward, Bo Nix must be better. Outside of that, I'm not going to sit here and say Denver played perfectly because they didn't. Because the Raiders made so many mistakes, missed field goal, blocked punt, penalties, sacks. You know, I just read off some of these numbers. The Raiders were 4 of 15 on third down. The Broncos were 5 of 15. They ran about the same amount of plays. The Raiders had 188 yards of total offense. Yards per play, the Raiders averaged 3.2, the Broncos about 4. Rushing yards about the same. Red zone, Denver 1 of 3 in the red zone. That's unacceptable. And I think the last one was just kneel downs. So it's 1 of 2. But and then both teams had 11 penalties. And if you're Denver, you're not good enough to overcome that. Both teams turn the ball over. Time of possession, basically even. These numbers, the Raiders are right there. And Geno Smith just hasn't had a good year. I don't know if it's Tom Brady looking over his shoulder. I don't know what happened to Geno because he wasn't this guy in Seattle, and the Raiders are now in desperate need of a franchise quarterback. And this offseason, they're going to have to find a guy, whether it's through the draft or a trade, because there's not really a free agent out there, unless Tom Brady's coming out of retirement. Because I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to play here. Excuse me. I just don't know where you go here if you're the Raiders. I think for Pete Carroll, it's business as usual, and he's got to figure this thing out. But remember, he didn't know what he had, with Russell Wilson until he, played him in the preseason. But it's also hard to judge any quarterback here. You know, yeah, you got Bowers, you got Michael Mayer, tight end, and then it's Tyler Lockett and Trey Tucker. It's not like it's great weapons offensively. I'd also like to see Ashton Jeanty get a little bit more run here. 19 carries in a tight game. Let me see how many receptions he had. 3 receptions for 3 yards. He touched the ball 22 times. The other guy who I think needs a little bit more touching is Raheem Mostert. He had 2 touches on the day, 1 catch, one rush, but I don't know what the Raiders do here. That's the frustrating thing. This was a game the Raiders really could have made a statement here and said, you know what? We're not the team that lost 31-0 up in Kansas City. We're better than that team. And they scored more points than they did that game. But this is just another awful performance for Geno Smith. Again, the defense did what it could, but too many mistakes, penalties, blocked punt, missed field goal, sacks allowed. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but that's the story of the game. And Denver, credit to them, they made one extra play. They made a field goal. And I think for Pete Carroll, you kind of got to take the positives out of this game. There aren't many. But you try to use reinforcement here. I hate saying it because I like Pete Carroll a lot. I think he's a really good football coach. I thought he was a good coach at USC. I thought he was really good for the Seahawks. The timing of his exit with the Seahawks kind of made sense. This Raider team's not that close. And I think coming in, we thought they were more talented than they were. Because we thought we were going to get good Geno Smith, and we haven't. And look, I know this post game has felt more centered on the Raiders, and it kind of has. But that's because Denver. I don't know if I could put Denver as an elite team in the AFC, or if they're that second tier. I don't know because I don't know about Bo Nix. But for the Raiders, I don't like the fact that Pete Carroll could be one and done. But as a Dolphin fan, the thought of Pete Carroll coaching my football team kind of does excite me for this reason. I think Pete Carroll would get the team to play hard, which the Raiders do. They play hard most weeks. They're not the most talented team, but they could do some things. But yeah, this was just a game that happened. It reminded me of that Colts Broncos game a couple of years ago, where Matt Ryan was the Colts quarterback, and I think the final score was 6-3. or 9-6. This game just happened. Yeah, so next week the Raiders are going to go to or stay at home. They're going to play the Cowboys. Denver plays the Chiefs. That's a huge game. Kansas City's going to be coming off their bye week, and that's already a win for Kansas City. The fact that Denver lost this game, so they gain a game or gain a half game with the Denver loss. Huge for the Chiefs, who haven't even played the Broncos yet. The Raiders, they're going to probably pick it in the top 10 again. Well, they will be picking in the top 10 again. And we'll see what happens with them at quarterback. But, man, that's a frustrating one if you're a. That is a very frustrating game if you're a Raiders fan. If you're a Broncos fan, you take it and you move forward. Uh, so, one other piece of news, I'm not sure if it was shared on Thursday Night Gridiron pregame. Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Nealand passed away Thursday morning, self-inflicted gunshot wound. I'm not going to get into the details of everything. I'm not all caught up in that, but I want to say this. If there is something bothering you as a person, reach out for help. There are hotlines to help you sort this kind of thing out. Friends, family, whoever you need. And if you're a person who, if you know or feel someone is depressed, reach out. Text, phone call. You know, it's a sad day when a 24-year-old individual passes away because he had his whole life ahead of him. Forget football. There are more things that are more important than sports. So anybody, reach out to others who you think could use help. Or if you're someone who needs the help, reach out to a friend, family member, or someone else who can help steer you in the right direction. That'll do it for the Thursday night post-game show. Next Thursday night, we have the Patriots and the Jets. Undecided if I will do a post-game on that one. But we'll definitely have Thursday night gridiron before that. Sunday morning, 10 a.m., right here on this YouTube channel. Sunday morning, sideline report myself, the old ops guy, potentially Danny Boy Reginald. We'll break down everything that's going on for Sunday. As well as talk about some other stuff. Get you ready for week 10 of the NFL season. Can't believe how quickly this one's flying by. My team sucks, and so it's pretty good. Yeah, so listen, if you're on this YouTube page, like, comment, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. I know Dan and Bill at some point Friday will be live with SIP. Podcasts, find them wherever you get your podcasts. Check out the socials. Facebook, The Sports Insanity, Twitter, Insanity Real. You can follow me personally on the socials. Not Facebook, Twitter, Punmaster Rifkin, same name on the Blue Sky app. Check out the website, thesportsinsanity.com for blogs, vlogs, playing streams, and automobiles. I'll talk to you all Sunday morning as we get ready for another